over 40 instalment contract deals. In order to ask questions, please type them into the questions. What? Oh, right, I see. Okay.
That'll do, Howard. Stop there. Stop there. Don't dig any deeper.
Yeah, I found the next bit now. You see, copy and paste doesn't work. Does
No.
Just remember that. Copy and paste definitely doesn't work. So, Doug is going to show us all about instalment contracts. He's very experienced. Let's give Doug an excellent warm welcome. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for that very kind introduction. So in the next 40 to 50 minutes, we're going to show you how we're making between £40,000 and £50,000 per transaction using instalment contracts. And we're going to show you how to do that without taking out a mortgage. Mortgage brokers in the audience will be pleased about that. Without the need of a deposit, some of you will be pleased about that. And without running a credit check, without the need of finding a tenant. That's an interesting one. Don't need to find a tenant anymore. You don't need to pay for voids or repairs. You don't need to pay for maintenance. And you can do all of that without any experience. So without further ado, my name is Doug Ponsford, and I've been around property now for about 30 years. In fact, I purchased my first property back in 1975. And in the late 80s, I set up a IFA practice. I became an IFA mortgage broker, and I specialised in creative financing strategies. And those strategies enabled me to start to buy property. And my subject was how to buy property without using any of your own money, preferring to use the bank's money rather than my own. That strategy basically means that you can buy more properties. If you're not putting your hand in your pocket finding deposits all the time, it means that you never run out of money. So subsequently I built a multi-million-pound portfolio over the years, which I now manage myself, and that generates a net income of 1 into 6 figures. Thank you for that. If you remember 2007, 2008, we had a bit of a banking crisis, and it became more difficult to find a mortgage. So I needed to find a new strategy. Fortunately, Mesud came along about that time. So in the last 3 years, we've been using instalment contracts, and that's enabled me to, again, massively grow my portfolio. And we've completed on over 40 deals, and each deal has averaged between £40,000 and £50,000. So over to my good friend and business partner, Mesud Sali.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good to see you here in Cardiff. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Mesud Sali. I've been working with Doug for the last 3 or 4 years. I'll tell you a little bit about my story. I come from Bulgaria. It's a small country in the Eastern Europe. I grew up in a Turkish family in Bulgaria, in a village. So I was born in a place where it was very, very poor. You know, you had 2 employment options, either to be a shepherd or either to be a tobacco grower. So I chose none of them. I decided to study very, very hard and gain entry to a UK university. So 2005, 29th of August, I came into London and studied at Richmond American International University. So I came here with £825. That was the all money I had. And next I had to pay my maintenance fees of £800. So I had £25 left. So what do you do when your English is not good? Still isn't. So when you don't have any friends, you don't know anybody, and you're new in a country that you haven't been before. Well, I decided to make it work. I decided to study hard, finish my university, and build a business in the UK. So when I was studying at university, I was also looking part-time in a restaurant. And the restaurant had a staff house where the members of the restaurant were living. So it was a quite big house in West London, and it had just 2 people living in it, and I was the 3rd person. I noticed that there were 4 other vacant rooms, and I said to the boss, can I take responsibility of the property? I'll pay the mortgage, I will look after the property and the bills, and would you allow me to sublet the rooms? He said, go for it, take it. And I started subletting the rooms. So soon I realized I was making more money from property than I was making working part-time in the restaurant. So that paid all my education. but I wanted to improve it. I wanted to buy houses rather than subletting other people's properties. So I tried to buy the property the traditional way. That's how I contacted Doug when he was a mortgage broker. I said, Doug, can you get me a mortgage? He said, no, Mesud, no chance. You're a university student, you're not working. And Doug, I've got £20,000 deposit. He said, those days are gone. We are in global financial crisis. You can't buy houses anymore. I said, Doug, well, we have to find a new alternative ways of buying and selling houses. How about we start buying and selling houses with installment contracts? We put our heads together, and since then, like he said, we have bought over 40 properties. Tonight, we're going to show you how we did it and how profitable it was.
Thank you, Mesud. So let's have a look at an overview of the evening. First of all, we're going to look at what is an instalment contract. Then we're going to show you how we're making massive profits from every deal. We're going to show you some real-life examples. We're going to show you how we're buying and controlling property using a single document. And then we're going to bring our offer to you. At the end of the evening, I will be going over some details of a weekend workshop which is running this next weekend. If any of you want to take advantage of that, I'm going to give you some information at the end, if that's okay by you. I'll do it as quickly as I can. It would be remiss of me if I didn't give you that information. So, without further ado, this is your bit, I think.
What is an installment contract, Doug?
Well, instalment contract is not an option. For those of you in the audience that are doing options or are aware of options, a lot of people that are experts in options say that we do options and instalment contracts. To be honest with you, if you know about instalment contracts and you become an expert at instalment contracts, you'd never do another option ever again, because it doesn't give you the certainty that instalment contracts do. So it's not an option. It's like a standard purchase or a standard conveyance. Basically, you move a buyer into your property, not a tenant. The buyer exchanges contracts with you. And because he's the buyer, you hope you don't have any of the costs or the headaches that you have with a tenant. It is the most profitable strategy by far, simply because it takes the cost of the tenants away. So if you compare it with a profitable strategy like HMOs as an example, and compare the cash flow and the profits, HMOs, by the time you've taken the costs away of the tenants, that is the renewals, the repairs, etc., instalment contracts are far more profitable. It presents more opportunities simply because we're marketing our properties to people who can't get mortgages, not to tenants. Mesud, how many people in the UK today can't get a mortgage?
Well, 6 out of 10 will struggle to get a mortgage or save up enough deposit to qualify for a mortgage.
Is it safe to say that most of the people today, most of the population can't get a mortgage, either because they don't qualify or because they haven't got a big enough deposit? And those people that can get a mortgage, a small part of the population, go and buy through an estate agent. So it presents a unique opportunity in terms of cash flow. It provides day one profits where the buyer moves in and provides a deposit. It then also provides massive monthly cash flow. The buyer pays instalments each month. The instalments are far greater than the cash flow you receive on a rental because you don't have the costs. So in other words, remove all the headaches that come with a tenant. Most of us in the room are investors, and most of us would like to have tenants. Nothing wrong with that, I have plenty of them. Instalment contracts tend to give us more profit. So let's show you how we're making profits, massive profits from every deal. I'm going to repeat over and over again the examples that I'm doing so that it's repetition. The best way to learn is by repetition. So the first one you look at, you think, I understood that a little bit. The next one you understand a bit more. So hopefully by the end of the evening you may understand all of it. A babysit is, in our mind, it's nothing to do with children or babies. Basically, we babysit properties, we babysit mortgages. So the guy that owned this property, a chap called Glenn, was trying to sell this property for nearly a year, and he was receiving offers, but the offers were not sufficient for him to accept because he had quite a large mortgage outstanding. He had a very tiny little bit of equity left in the property, and he needed full price. So we agreed with him that we'd babysit his property for him, we babysit his mortgage payments and allow him to move away, moving with his girlfriend, save some deposit, and they would buy a property together. It released him from the cost of the mortgage each month, and this property wasn't suitable for the new couple to live in. So having agreed to babysit the property and babysit the mortgage payments, we immediately put it on the market, which took about an hour and a half. So what does this say to you?
Buying my one bedroom flat, no mortgage needed, £5,000 mortgage needed, £597 per month, flat is yours.
Cool. So, no mortgage required. Deposit £5,000, £597 a month. If you wanted to rent this property, it would have cost you that anyway. Where can you buy a property for £5,000 deposit? So we're marketing to a massive part of the population, in fact most people. So Mesud, we found a nice buyer. Maybe you can explain the figures on that for us.
Well, this property had a mortgage of £82,000, okay, and in its current condition and its in current market it was worth £70,000 to £75,000. So it was clearly negative equity, upside down. So the seller of the property has been trying to sell it for the last 12 months, and it didn't have any success. This deal actually came through one of our estate agent friends, local estate agent friends, and Glenn basically didn't want to sit on the market anymore. He wanted to move away from the property because he wanted to save up some deposit to buy himself and his fiancée a bigger property. So he moved in with his in-laws and said, well, here are the keys, gentlemen, get on with it, just move the problem away. As long as you sell the property, settle the mortgage, if you have any profits, they are yours. Okay, we sold the property for £89,995, okay? We advertised this, remember, with £5,000 deposit, but we found a buyer that just got rid of their husband. So she got divorced and walked away with £19,000. So she wanted to buy herself a nice one-bedroom place on her own. So rather than she give us £5,000, she gave us £19,000 deposit. Okay?
That's our first cash flow, £19,000 banked on a property that we haven't paid anything for. Figures next week.
This property gives us £40 cash flow. Okay. It would have given us greater cash flow if we took £5,000 deposit. But because we took £19,000 deposit, we didn't use that money to repay the existing mortgage down. So we literally back that money, and all the cash flow we get from the property, we pay towards reducing the existing mortgage. And we locked in the buyer for a period of 7 years. So if she was going to complete within 7 years, she would have a redemption penalty like you would have with your bank. So, but she came back and said, well, I want to complete after 8 months. So after 8 months, she was already ready to get a mortgage and repay the rest of the balance. So, okay, but there was a redemption penalty that applies. They said, no problem, I will pay it, I just want to be out of this. So, we took the property on and we sold it after 8 months. So we made £19,400 profit from a property we paid nothing for it, absolutely nothing.
And how many tenants did we move in?
None.
How much did we spend on repairs?
Well, I spent a little bit on yellow signs, but that was all. So
the thing is that there are a lot of people around like this that own these properties that don't want them anymore, that just want to move away from the pain of owning the property and paying the monthly costs. So we're going to show you another example of a babysit that a gentleman by the name of Bob owns down in Renown Road, over where we come in our neck of the woods, down in the south of England. And Bob was £1,800 in arrears with GE Money, and GE Money were just about to repossess him for £1,800 basically. We spoke to him on Wednesday, and the bailiffs were coming in next Thursday. So we said to Bob, how would it suit you? How would it make you feel if we could pay the arrears off for you? We could allow you some more time to stay in the house, pack your boxes, because he was moving to his sister's house. So he was already packing his boxes anyway. Allow you some more time, stay in the house, pack up your boxes, move across to your sister's house under your own steam. We'll buy you some more time. We'll babysit your property for you, and we'll babysit your mortgage payments for you, and we'll pay off GE Money. How would that suit you? So he said, where do I sign? So immediately we've taken control of his property using a single document. And now we have control of the property, we haven't paid any money for it, and now we go off and find a buyer using our Rightmove account. Mesud, give us some figures for this.
We have a unique Rightmove account where we list under the deposit amount. It's like being on top of Rightmove. So when we list the property for sale, it's not for sale for £155,000, it's for sale for £7,000. So when somebody searches lowest price first, our property is always on top. So we get massive more inquiries. So we uploaded this property on, I think it was Wednesday afternoon. And Thursday morning we already have a buyer that booked a meeting with us to come into the office. So Thursday afternoon we met the buyer, we went through their paperwork, we looked at, they had the deposit, they had the income, so they wanted to buy a 3-bedroom house. They were living in East London, renting a 2-bedroom apartment, nice family with 2 kids, but obviously that flat was very crowded for them, and they wanted a larger 3-bedroom house. And they love the fact that they can buy with £7,000 deposit. Where else you can buy a 3-bedroom house with £7,000 deposit? So we moved the family in within a month. So they put the £7,000 deposit. That is our first profit. And also we make £250 net cash flow every month. That is the difference between what they pay us. They pay us £799 a month, and we repay our mortgage, and plus we repay slightly towards Bob's arrears, if you remember. So this property is giving us £250 net cash flow per week. Over a 5-year period, this is going to give us £15,000 in net profits. And we'll have £20,000 back-end profit. Back-end profit means the difference between what the buyer owes us on a completion date and the difference between how much we owe to our mortgage lender. So that is our back-end profit.
The reason why we use 5 years, and we've used 5 years on all of our examples, is because we move a buyer into the property that is unable at the moment to get a mortgage, either because they don't qualify for a mortgage or they haven't got a big enough deposit. Generally speaking, it takes 3 to 5 years for those people to go down the bank and get their own mortgage. So we would expect them to cash out in about 3 to 5 years, and on average that's exactly what happens. If you're coming in from Eastern Europe, you have to wait for 5 years before you can qualify for a mortgage. So it's perfect for Eastern Europeans. Mesud, how much have we made out of this property?
£42,000. How many of you, ladies and gentlemen, would like to make £42,000 from one deal?
We're going to show you one more baby step just so that you get the idea of what we're doing. Again, this is another gentleman called Bob, who was a reluctant landlord. Again, he'd been trying to sell the property for the last 11 or 12 months. He was trying to get the full asking price for the property. He was refusing to take an offer. So we offered him the full asking price, or near to, on the understanding that providing we give him all of the money, would he have some flexibility around the timescale in which we deliver the money?
Write this down. Provided that we give you the full asking price you want, is there any flexibility around the time frame we deliver that money? Very good question.
So Mesud, he was prepared to wait.
He was prepared to wait 5 years. We said, Bob, these deals usually take, our buyers usually last 3 to 5 years, and they complete within that time period. Would it be alright for us to pay you £15,000 equity in this property on completion after our buyer completes? He said, fantastic, just take the keys, manage the property, make sure that JP Morgan, the mortgage lender, is paid, make sure that the place is full, and I'll sign the contract. So we signed the contract, and it says here, the purchase price, the amount outstanding on mortgage on completion, plus £15,000. That was our agreement with Bob. So we agreed, and we sold the property to another family. We took £5,000 deposit. This family was young professionals from Nigeria, husband and wife. The husband was still studying